Hey, everybody. Welcome to another live. Hey, how's the music? How are you doing? Hey, very cool. Thank you so much for jumping on. I really appreciate it. That's so cool. Feel free to share your thoughts about what we're going to deal with today. I want to start, it's going to be about 20-30 minutes, but I want to start with a story, and it's actually a very well-known story. It's not a real story, obviously, but it's a story with a deeper meaning. And it's going to have to do with, what do we do with stories? What do we do with limiting beliefs? What do we do with trauma? Because sometimes they're separate, meaning that you can have trauma, but then obviously then you also have the limiting beliefs. But in my understanding of beliefs in and of themselves, they actually they act like trauma, especially if they're limiting ones, and I'll explain what that means. So, and you may have heard a version of what I'm about to say. So there was a gentleman, and his house flooded. In fact, the whole area flooded to the point to where his house started getting submerged by the water. And so he was, praying to God, and he was saying, God, please send something to rescue me, right? And about 10 minutes later, as the waters are still like submerging more and more and more, and he's getting nervous, and he's starting to cry, and he's getting upset. He notices a boat, and they're saying, hey, why don't you jump on the boat? Where we have more room, there's space for you. And the gentleman says, no, thank you, I appreciate that, but God's going to come and bring something to rescue me, so I'll just wait that out. Okay. And then basically he sits there, and he's getting more upset and more upset. Okay. And what ends up happening is he's still praying, and God, please rescue, send something to rescue me, and so on and so forth. Right. And so he keeps he keeps praying, and then lo and behold, a rescue helicopter comes, and the rescue helicopter is saying, okay, please come down, and they have everything, all of the rescue equipment ready. And he's like, no, God's going to send something, right? And essentially the end of the story is that the man dies, right? And what the whole point, though, is that sometimes with our stories, our stories are so powerful, the stories that we tell ourselves and the beliefs that we tell ourselves, that it actually closes our mind off to any other possibilities of solutions, right? So, for example, our trauma is a story. And I mean anything from, because I'm using this psychologically, but I'm also using this as wide of a word as possible. So trauma in the sense that, anybody that, so anybody that goes through any type of childhood trauma or whatever that is, right? Or anything small where you keep re-traumatizing, where you keep telling yourself the old story, and you keep repeating it, and you keep repeating it, right? Oh, I see. Yes. If it keeps doing that, I'm gonna have to change internets here and try again. But thank you. So don't worry, you haven't lost anything. I've actually noticed it, so I'm trying to time everything. So again, trauma is just a story that we keep telling ourselves about ourselves. All right. So it's a story, but so beliefs in and of themselves act like forms of trauma. How? Because we repeat them over and over and over and over and over. And so the more that we believe and accept them as true, they actually turn into an identity, right? Neville calls that a state. Your identity is a state, but what is it? What is a state? It's a series of beliefs that you've accepted about yourself. Okay, so for example, let's make this legitimate for you so it makes sense. So let's say you grew up in a household where, let's say, for example, the father was completely there, but he wasn't mentally or emotionally supportive, right? And let's say the mother was extremely helicopter, always telling you what's wrong with you, watching, having you watch your every step, OCD about how you appear to, her friends, and so on and so forth, right? So that's going to teach you something. That's going to teach you a series of things, but that's going to teach you that you need to play a certain role to be acceptable. Then that's going to form a belief. Then that belief is going to form a series of beliefs about others as well. And then that belief about others is going to form how others treat you, and so on and so forth. Okay. But now there's loads more beliefs that are coming out of that, right? But that's just one simple example of how beliefs act like trauma. Okay. And so here's the thing though, beliefs are in and of themselves limiting, whether they're good beliefs or bad beliefs. Okay. Because essentially, why? Because we're divine beings. And so the beliefs that we accept about ourselves are meant to help us awaken the fact that we are divine. Okay. That we have this power within us to be able to use and create. Okay. And music. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of psychology. Hypnosis can work. It has shown to work. So if you use hypnosis to do that, that's great. I'm going to give you a tip today from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming techniques that will help you do this as well. And so stay tuned for that. But yeah, go for it. And so again, the temptation though is that we want to keep telling the old story. So we wake up, we live the old story. Now, here's the crazy thing, okay? So neuroscience shows that there's a moment that every human goes through, and it's usually like a second or two, of us not really having labels or history or memories or feelings every single morning. There's this kind of moment, and this is actually from perception neuroscience studies, that actually shows that basically we're kind of in a void state, if you will. Every single morning, we're in this void state. And if you're part of my coaching program, I actually teach you how to actually try to get into that void state and hack it so you can learn how to manifest faster, right? And so, again, what happens, though, is in that void state, you have no history. You have no abusive parents. You have no great childhood. You have no, it doesn't matter how good or bad, whatever your experience has been thus far, you don't have any of that. Okay. And so what that says to me though, especially from a psychological perspective, is that ultimately there are things that we're choosing about ourselves that we're choosing about ourselves. That means we can have a choice. We can choose the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. So then what's happening then? Why is it so hard? Why is it so difficult to stop telling those stories? Why is it so difficult to stop repeating? Okay. Well, there's a few things. Okay. So one is, and this is going to sound really warped here, but really, really kind of walk with me on this one, because I think realizing this is very important. Okay. You enjoy the old story. So let me say it a different way. You enjoy the pain. You enjoy the loss, and you enjoy living the old story. Now, most of you are going to say, nope, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with pain. I don't agree with loss. I don't agree telling the old belief, right? So then why do I keep doing it? Well, check this out. In the work of the French psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan, Lacan, okay? This is an area that I've studied for about 8-10 years, okay, of his work in psychoanalysis, all right? He was a student of Freud's work. And so what he says is basically we are all chasing after certain desires, all right? And so, yes, yeah, very, very well said, Deborah. And so what happens is we would rather tell the old story than heal from the new one. And just like Deborah said, it's more comfortable, right? It's like when you have a favorite set of clothes, right? And you like those clothes more than a new set of clothes because you've worn them, you know them. And guess what? Guess what? Not just that. You have an environment that supports it. Check your environment right now, and I guarantee you everything you've ever purchased has a belief behind it, whether it be a good one or a bad one or an insecure one or a fear-based one, whatever it is. Analyze your environment, and it doesn't matter what the object is. It has a belief that is guiding it, okay? And so, for example, why do you buy tools or whatever it is? Why? Because you're preparing for something to what? Break down, okay? Why do we buy gasoline for the car? Because that's the way the car works, okay? So, but guess what? And I'm not against putting gasoline in your car or getting tools. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use these as metaphors to show to you, to expose to you that everything that we have is guided by a particular set of beliefs, but those beliefs are also predicated on the past experience, okay? So again, stay on here if you've just joined, because I'm going to give you a tip from NLP to actually help you heal from any of your past traumas, okay? And yes, but let me say first and foremost, this will take time, okay? I am not part of the manifestation community that's like, okay, manifest a house in 10 seconds, right? Can you do that? I believe you can get to that point, but it's a point that you have to get to, right? That means if you're just just jumping onto my content or other people's content and you're like, I want to manifest $1 million. Can you? Yeah, of course you can. Anybody can, right? That's why we have millionaires. But at the same time, if you have a preloaded set of beliefs that are based on, let's say, your childhood experience of money being hard to get because your parents struggled, that's going to impact you, okay? And so, yes, you can talk about how, for example, and you can start impressing the subconscious by saying, money comes to me easy. Money actually brings joy, not arguments, right? All of those kinds of statements in the present or in the past are all actually indicative of you starting to heal from those past traumas. That's one way. Yes, use affirmations, right? But they have to be affirmations that mean something to you, okay? And usually you look to the past to help you understand that, yes, I get it, there's no past, there's no future. But what we experience in the now or then is actually influencing us in the now, okay? Because there is now. There's only now. So what happened to you 7 years ago happened to you then now, because then was now. Are you with me? So what we're doing, though, is that is going to impact you from 7 years ago to now. So you're going to make decisions based on that experience, and that ends up forming a form of self-protective cocoon, okay? Which means you're going to try to find ways to tell your story, and you're going to find other ways to tell it in ways that sound and make sense. You're going to use reasons that are going to actually sound, that sounds logical. So then therefore, I'm already justifying. So again, let's go back to the person who has like a disaffected father and a hyperprotective mother, okay? So then what you're going to do is you're going to start forming beliefs in your later on in life, whatever, right? That, well, women are completely controlling and men are disaffected. So guess what? If you keep following along and you end up getting married, you're going to play out that role. And that is just the way it works because you circle through these beliefs, right? And I will go through revision as well before we go through the NLP technique. But thank you for bringing that up, music. And so again, because you have told the story over and over, you get dopamine for this. This is why I said at the beginning, I said you actually like your hurt. You actually enjoy your pain. You actually enjoy that story because the new one scares the crap out of you because you don't know the new story like you know the old story. The old story feels like a friend. The new story is treated like an enemy, according to your ego, right? And so how do you do that? Well, you spend time with the new story. You spend time by practicing the new story. You spend time by actually motivating yourself to create habits from the perspective of the person who is living in the new story, okay? But again, the reason why, again, the old story seems so good isn't only because it's comfortable. That's always the go-to reason. It's because you've created reasons that justify its existence in your life. So for example, somebody struggling to pay the bills, okay? That's a really easy go-to one, all right? So then their justification is, oh, the government doesn't help me, or my mom didn't help me, or my dad didn't leave me any money, or the cost of living has gone up, or cars are really expensive, or wow, have you seen the gas prices today? So we're going to create an ecosystem, right, that actually forms a cocoon around us and actually forces us not to change, okay? So again, are you hearing all of these reasons? Because they sound logical. They sound like they actually have reason behind them. But all you're doing is you're telling that story again, but just in different forms. You're telling the same story by keeping the old reasons alive. The new reasons would be, wow, money comes to me easy. I can afford gasoline so easily. Wow, I could afford a new car. Like money's so easy to get, right? And so again, you start forming new beliefs. Okay, and so these new beliefs start forming a new person, and that new person starts forming new actions, and that starts forming new choices, and that starts influencing your perspective. Are you with me? There's a pattern to this, okay? But again, the more that you keep rehashing the old story, it is like you're going through trauma. And so you're not really actually operating out of being fully healed. You're operating out of jumping in and out of the old story to the new story. But because the old one's more comfortable, you're going to keep defaulting on that, right? Neville calls that your dwelling place. Okay, that means that is what is the state, right? Well, in neuroscience, it's called the default mode network. Okay, so the default mode network, right, is a series of neurons that are always interplaying with one another, but is reliant upon how you experience through your interpretations what you're experiencing. Okay, so again, that is your dwelling place. That is your DMN, your default mode network. Okay, and the more that you repeat it, the more that you get rewarded. And the more that those reasons that you just came up with sound way more valuable than the new reasons of you actually being a billionaire, you being a millionaire, you being loved by your parents, you being supported by your parents, you having a loving and supporting spouse, whatever it is that you want in your life, you're going to have to actually do the work of deconstructing, yes, the old story, but how do you do that? So rather than sitting there and trying to pick apart like a Lego, right, what is wrong and where the memories were, just build out yourself a strong enough new story that it actually overcomes the old story. Okay, that's what the Bible says, right? You overcome the old with the new. Okay, do not conform any longer, right, to this world. That's what the Apostle Paul says. To this world means the world that you've created within. No longer conform. So that doesn't mean and sit there, because sometimes people will try to do this. They'll be trying to tell the old story because they're trying to heal from it. But in the end, they end up telling more of the old story and they re-traumatize themselves. So sometimes the only way out is actually not through. The only way out is up and over. Okay, and up and over means rising in consciousness. Okay, that means you got to rise above your current circumstances by actually going within. Okay, this is why you revise. This is what Musique was talking about, okay, in the comments. You revise, which means you tell a different story. But it's not just that. Okay, I differ a lot from those who understand revision because I believe it changes the substance of the event itself and the people involved, including yourself. And the key here isn't others or the event, it's you. Revision changes you. So how do you revise? You create a scene where you are essentially overlaying this new scene to take over the old one. Okay, and then I'm gonna give you the NLP technique. Okay, and then we'll be done. So about 5-6 more minutes. And so what I want to do is I want you to realize that your revision is the ability to take a story that you've had. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you think you've had a perfect childhood. It doesn't matter. There's something in there that's still causing beliefs. Okay? And so what you want to do is you want to take any event that you want to revise and create a scene in the idealist sense possible. What would that have been? If you had a helicopter mom, maybe the scene is having a supportive mom. Right? If you had a disaffected dad, maybe a fully engaged father, right? Whatever the scenario is, you begin revising from the perspective of already being and having that person, okay? Be the way that you want them to be, including yourself. So how would that make you feel? Well, if you had a very supportive father and a non-controlling mother, you'd feel supported, you'd feel celebrated, you'd feel safe. So those are the feelings that you want to bring into your scene. But then on top of that, here's the clincher. And this is where I differ from many manifestation coach. You don't just do this here. You do this in the 3D. You start reacting to people around you. I don't care if you know them or not, the stranger, the customer service person at the store, right? Your best friend, from having those emotions be real to you now. Yes, it's going to feel fake. It's going to feel weird. Just like Musique said, it's going to feel like you're lying to yourself, okay? But why don't you gaslight your gaslighting, okay? Are you with me? So actually be like, oh, no, I don't feel that way. I actually feel these 3 emotions. I don't feel like I'm hated or rejected or not loved, right? And be like, oh, no. And I mean, seriously, use disgust. Use actually disgust and be like, no, okay? Now, I'm going to give you 2 techniques, okay? One I have not showed yet on any of my other videos, and I'm going to probably break it down even more in a new video, but I want to give it to you guys as well. So I'm going to give you 2 techniques. One is from the video on 3 NLP techniques. Check that one out. And then a second one. So I'm going to give you that one first, and I'm going to give you the new one last, okay? So the one that you may have seen me do is when you're creating a scene, right? Do your fingers like this. I know it's like I'm making like a shadow puppet. But basically, you want to take your first index finger and your thumb, okay? And teach this to your kids, teach it to your pets. It doesn't matter. But basically, what you want to do is, see, all I'm doing is I'm taking my first index finger and I'm taking my thumb, okay? And this is a cool technique because you can take this with you everywhere you go. No one like, oh wow, that's a weird person. No, because you could hide it, put it down by your wrist while you're doing it in a public. Let's say you want more confidence. Well, build out a scene where you're feeling that confidence. Okay, don't do it until you feel the confidence. Remember that little knob technique I was telling you to do? Put a knob on the bottom of your screen, turn up the emotions by 10, and then when you think that's too much, turn it up by 20. Then when you think that's too much, turn it up by 30. Then when you feel that, press down your index finger with your thumb, okay? What you're gonna do is then you're gonna impress upon your body that and those emotions that you're feeling are actually who you are. So then when you're going throughout your day and you have doubts, you have fears, do it. Press it down again. And then when you go back to do another scene and you feel the feelings of having what you want, do the same thing again. Press it down, right? I know, for example, fellow comedians who do this as well, okay? Because it actually helps them down regulate feeling nervous on stage. Okay, so again, you're actually using this technique. Again, all you're doing is you're not trying to pinch and like force blood out. You're just pressing enough pressure so that when you're feeling those emotions, you're actually pressing it down. Okay, and then throughout the day, when you're having doubts, or even if you have a presentation, just use that. Press it a little bit, hold it there for a few seconds, and then you're like, and then just go and do what you need to do. Okay. Now, here's the second technique, okay, from NLP, all right? And this is what I do with my coaching clients. And like I said, go check out the new video after this one because I'm going to record one that's going to break this down even more. But this is called the parts integration, okay? This is from neuro-linguistic programming. And again, this is one way that you can actually use to actually help down-regulate beliefs as trauma or fears or rejection, right? And those limiting beliefs that seem so solid, okay? So one of the things that we do with our emotions is when we feel one that's stronger than the other, we start de-emphasizing the role of the other. Are you with me? Are you guys with me? So once you say, okay, I feel scared, you don't really emphasize joy, right? Once you start emphasizing rejection, you start de-emphasizing acceptance. Are you with me? So what's happening though is that when you do de-emphasize, and the more that you tell yourself that story where you're de-emphasizing acceptance and you're accepting rejection, did you get that? Accepting rejection, you're accepting it, you're consenting to it, you have the power to change it. But then the more that you do that, the more that you rehearse these emotions, okay, the more that you tell yourself the old story, it's going to feel real like we talked about earlier, okay? But then also, what's happening is as you're de-emphasizing these emotions and you're hyper-focusing on these emotions, okay, you're now living these emotions. Not only are they manifesting, but you're living through them. This is your from that Neville talks about, right? Your from, which is your lens upon which you see things, your lens upon which you, and how you define what's possible and impossible, and how you define other people's behaviors, and so on and so forth, okay? Do you got it so far? So, what you've done is you've disintegrated yourself. You've actually created separation within, okay? And you've created disintegration. This is why this is called parts integration, okay, as the technique. So what do? And I really want you to try this, and I really want you to come back to me, leave comments here, join our Discord group, share your results, whatever it is, find me on Reddit. But I really want to hear from you, and this is how you do it. Okay, I want you to create an imaginary scene. It doesn't matter if you're really bad at creating scenes. That isn't the point. Okay, it doesn't even matter if you can form faces. I want you to create, like a support group, I want you to create an imaginary scene where you create chairs. Okay, now this is like a circle of chairs, and in this circle of chairs, this group of people, I'm going to tell you who they are in a second, are going to be all supportive. All right. Now, these are people that you necessarily know. These are all of your emotions. So these are all of your emotions, your so-called bad emotions, your so-called good emotions, okay? I want you to sit them down, and I want you to sit them down like in a kind of like, like round table scenario or a circle of chairs. Whatever sounds true and best to you, do that, okay? And these are all your emotions, whether they're anger, rejection, right? Joy, excitement, possibility, because everything we experience in this world is an emotion. A building is an emotion, okay? The Bible even says that, right? Everything in the world is the Lord's. That means imagination, okay? So, again, sit them in a room, okay? So use this as your meditation practice for at least 30 days, okay? So that's a challenge to you. So if you're listening, say challenge accepted, right? If you want to. So it's basically a very short, quick scene. But what you're doing is you're now starting to integrate yourself with the emotions that you yourself have pushed aside. Okay? So because remember, we manifest from what? The emotions of having, not the emotions of lack, but the emotions of having. Okay? And the emotions of already becoming the person who has the thing. Are you with me? So what you do is you put them in this room. And now what I want you to do is I want you to let them talk to you. Okay. Now, if you need to start them like saying things like, okay, hey, I'm rejection. Yes. Do it like an AA meeting or like an Alcoholics Anonymous. Right. And so have them start talking and saying, oh, you know what? Hey, I'm fear, but guess what? I'm here to protect you. And so anything that I'm doing is out of protecting you. So I actually love you, right? And so rejection. So you know what? I know that you and I have not really had a good relationship, but the reason why I make you feel rejected is because of this. And then maybe it'll point you to an event that you might need to revise and, heal yourself from. Okay. But then you have joy. Oh, you know what, man? You and I want to be friends, like best friends with you. I want to take you with you everywhere you go. Okay. And so take this technique, take this approach with you and do this for 30 days straight. Okay. If it's day 29 and you forget, start to day 1. I know that sounds like a lot, but it takes anywhere from 60 to like almost 300 days to form one habit anyways. But remember, you're doing this only to reintegrate those emotions that you have gotten so used to pushing away because your old story feels more powerful. Okay. Are you with me? So thank you for jumping on. Thank you for taking time. Definitely join my coaching program. If you weren't on my 5-day challenge, check out those videos because I launched a group coaching, which is actually going really well. And it's a lot more affordable for those who can't afford my hourly coaching. And so again, you can find out more about that either by clicking on my email in my bio here on YouTube and asking, or clicking on the link to join my Discord, which is free, right? And begin applying this every single day, and you will see a very different person. But not just that, you will begin to see yourself manifesting much faster, right? Because you're actually integrating parts of yourself that you've pushed out, right? Yeah, so even that. So like music, that's a belief, right? And so that is a belief, and what you want to do is you want to give up that story. Okay, you want to give up that story because it doesn't serve you. And so maybe you have to have a conversation with aches and pains, meaning have them sit in the chair in your mind and have them explain to you what they're doing, right? And so you build a deep trust with your emotions, because your emotions aren't your enemy. This is again where I differ from people like Esther Hicks, right? This is not about feeling happy all the time, right? And even the Bible says in your anger, what does that assume? You're angry. It's okay to be angry, right? But you have to figure out, why are you angry? That's the key. That's how you get your power back. You have to find out the why behind what you do and what is drawing you to it, right? And yes, that's a great question. So yes, people's mindset, as long as you catch the mood, and that's another technique, right? Actually, you're staying on, if you're here, right? Neville says to catch the mood. What does that even mean? Because a mood is something that you feel, right? I feel good. I feel happy. I feel excited. I feel like everything's possible, okay? But feeling something is possible is more a mood than feeling happy. Right? Because then you feel like things are happening. So that's what the mood is. You feel like things are happening. But then everybody else is going to mirror you in that mood. And that's what you want to do in your scenes, in your imaginary scenes. You want to have not just you catch the mood. You want to have objects, things, weather, people, right? Everything catch your mood. And they're mirroring back to you what that mood is. Okay, so again, if it's healing from your limiting beliefs, then have people recognize you from the perspective of being fully healed from it now, right? And that's what it means to catch the mood. Have them reflect back to you the new person, okay? But again, do this parts integration challenge for the next 30 days, and I guarantee you will see a different person. Use the finger to thumb technique, pressure point, right? And I guarantee you that will help you as well to stay in state. All right. So again, there's more to come. I'm going to be hoping to do these more on a regular basis. If this is a time that works for you, let me know. If you're watching this on the playback, let me know in the comments. If there are times and days that work better for you, I'm going to try to do the average, and we'll try to get a community going here. So again, if you're looking for coaching, get in touch. If you're looking for group coaching, definitely get in touch, because we have events every Friday, okay? And if other people are saying, hey, I want to do it, but I can't do it on a Friday, then we're going to make some more days for you as well. All right? So thank you for jumping on. Thank you for taking time. Please, oh, cool. Hey, Catherine, welcome, welcome, welcome. That's amazing. Thank you for jumping on, by the way. Yes, I have some friends in South Africa. Very, very cool people. Want to actually go there one day. I'll manifest, I'm sure. So again, if you're just joining, thank you for joining. Make sure that you watch back on the full video, because I do give you tips and techniques. And then watch out for the video probably today, where I'm going to be breaking this down even more and explain the psychology behind why this NLP technique works and how you can use it to manifest quicker. So thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. Click on the links on my bio and YouTube. Check out stuff. Get in touch. Much love. Thank you. And I've hit 200. So thank you, everybody, for being a part of that journey. Thank you. It's exciting to actually have 200 people. Let's make it 2,000, right? So thank you. Thank you so much. And much love. Be safe in the world and have the best life ever, because you can. Thank you all.